boy, it's another one of these outside vlogs. You know that? I have no idea if I'm actually going to have enough time to consistently record this, or if I'm actually just going to be stuck. If I'm actually just going to be stuck, standing here sounding like an idiot before I can finish making my point. It's a nice day today though, isn't it? You know, sun's not really out very much, the water's wet, there's no people. No, I always like days like this. The days when I want to go outside the most is when the sky is gray. You know, for the amount of suffering that I went through living in Maine due to poverty and my mom being kind of insane and my medicine really not working properly, the one thing that always brought me a kind of solace was going out and then seeing how gray the sun was at the end of the day. No, I always liked how much it rained. If you watch my Star Goes Outside video the other day, you'll quickly see that I started being pushed down by the wind. But the funny thing is, and this is one of the things that I noticed is, I guess maybe like a distinct difference, was that back then I got so used to it. I was so used to the idea of the wind like almost knocking me down that I kind of knew how to maneuver my way around it. Because the wind would pick up so much, especially when it was raining. Look at this. The water started flooding. It started flooding the sidewalk. This is fun. I think there are certain things that people just kind of accept as being natural. Like, I have sex on this time of day, and I grab her here and there, and it's so stimulating to see the body parts flounder around or whatever. I don't quite understand this. Like, there are things, think about this, right? Now, there are people who like licking people. Do you know how gross that is? Do you know how gross to take your tongue and put your saliva on another person is? And there's all kinds of things like this. Like, you're taking your physical bodies, right, and showing them to one another, and then just like mashing them around together to be able to produce some kind of sex reaction. It's gross. It's really gross. And I've gotten to the point where like I can view this content and I don't get like the reaction that I used to of, oh, this is just disgusting. But I nonetheless feel no desire to engage with the content, where it isn't this overt, oh, get it away kind of reaction. But when I look at it, I have to wonder on a, I guess, purely logical level, why would anyone react to this with the thought that they want to have sex afterwards, you know? I don't understand it. It's gross. It's just deeply disgusting. And I see patterns like this all the time, where, you know, it isn't just in the realm of like, oh, I must have physical relations because it's what my body is telling me to, and this kind of thing. I don't understand this, because when I look at it, and I think about like myself in that scenario, it just feels nasty to me. And I've tried to engage with pornographic content that isn't, you know, so commercialized, because they say, oh, porn isn't, exactly like what the real thing would be, which is true. But I've tried engaging with content that's different, that's more, you know, neutral, and I had the same experience. I've tried jacking off and this kind of stuff, and I just thought it was gross. So, I look at things like this, and then I look at, say, for example, like factionalism. Like, my group is better than yours, so we're going to beat up on you, this kind of thing. And I know this is a little bit different than physical relations, but it's a human pattern that I notice, where people will see the differences between your group and theirs, and then they'll use their group as a collective entity to gang up on you. You know, they'll see that you have some kind of disability, some kind of disorder. you have different opinions, you talk or walk a different way, and then they'll immediately use it to target you. This is something that happened to me all the time in school. Happened to me in other situations. I just get ganged up on by people for no reason, just for being myself. And I think this tribalistic nature, it comes from somewhere. There's a reason that these people are like this. But I've always, when I was in school, thought it was wrong. And I think I talked about this in my Origins of Hikikomori video, is that there was a short period in which I was a bully, and then I quickly stopped because I didn't want to bully people who didn't deserve it. I think it's right to hurt people who have hurt you, or who are ultimately going to hurt other people. But to just hurt innocent people, you shouldn't do that, But I've always felt this pattern of behavior is gross whenever I've observed it, because I experienced it. I experienced the blunt of what bullying was like, and groupthink and this kind of thing. So I've always been disgusted by it because I was the one who was othered by the behavior, So it feels kind of shitty at the end of the day that people are driven by these things because they don't really have a reason not to be driven by them. Of course, I'm just gonna bully people because bullying is based and all my friends do it, and it's gonna get reinforced because if my friends accept the bullying, then we can just do it together as like a group activity. And there's no moral compass telling you not to do it at that point because, hey, I can just do it. And they're gonna be satisfied by it. They're gonna give you reinforcement. So all these human behavior patterns I find disgusting. I find the fact that people are driven by sexual desires to be disgusting. I find the fact that people are driven by groupthink and bullying to be disgusting. And it's all over our world. Like, it happens everywhere, every day. And sometimes I look at my physical body and I wish I wasn't so connected to it. Do you ever just feel disgusted with being a human? With the fact that these behavior patterns exist and you have to be in the same group of people as all of these other guys, It's just weird, man. It's just weird. I don't like it. I wonder what other behavior patterns there are. There's other behavior patterns I don't like. I can't remember them off the top of my head. But it's usually people don't think before they act. Like, if you're in an argument with someone and they haven't done any research on the topic, but they're so sure that they're correct. They're like, I must be right about this thing. I know absolutely everything about this and I know I'm correct. But they haven't even done any research on the stuff they say. They just say, oh, I have to be right. I have to be right because I know so. It's like, do you have the ability to take a step back and think about what you're saying? Do you have the ability to take a step back and consider perhaps you are wrong? Consider perhaps what you're doing might be wrong. It's like the worst behavior pattern that people have that I find the grossest is just a lack of introspection. I find physical human things like saliva and, I don't know, taking a dump or, having sex and these different desires gross. But those are just my opinions, I just think those things are gross. But when I see people have total disregard for the safety of others or total disregard for what someone else might have gone through or might have felt, and just egotistically go about their own lives and end up, saying or doing pretty harmful things as a result of that, I have to sit here and wonder, how would you feel if you were in that situation, Because I've been in those situations, and I don't want to be in them again. So I don't want to put someone else through what I had been through. But I think people in their behavior patterns often lack this ability to think about it and go, oh, what if I was there? What if I was in that situation? And in a sense I understand because I don't feel guilt, I think having a conscience and feeling guilt are two very different things. I have a conscience, I know when I've done something wrong and I can think about it, but I don't feel guilty for doing anything that I do. I've pretty much never felt guilt for the majority of my life. It's just something that kind of gotten eaten out of me. It just kind of went away. So I understand that. But not having the ability to have a conscience and, like, consciously dissect what you did wrong and know what you did wrong and then try to fix it. I don't know why more people don't have that. Why don't more people sit down and think about what they did wrong and try to fix it? That's what I don't understand. Like, even me as someone who doesn't feel guilt, and is very, very emotionally numb in relation to other people, I still nonetheless, with all of my idiosyncratic tendencies, have the ability to sit down and say that's not right. To say that more people experiencing more pain is usually not a good thing, unless they're just like really evil or something, you know. This video became something totally different. I was just going to sit here and rant about how gross sex is. Sex is really gross. You shouldn't do it, in my opinion. I think it's disgusting.